We also have our friend John Hope Bryant, kind enough to phone in for our program today. John, it's great to have you back here on America's Forum.
It's my honor to be with you. Congratulations of finishing not only 5 or 6 terms in Congress, but returning to broadcasting, which is your root.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that, John. And as we take a look at personal histories, there are also some economic numbers we need to discuss this morning. The Bureau of Labor Statistics, with an announcement last week, unemployment fell to 5.9%. That's the lowest since. Critics are quick to point out that, wait a minute, our labor non-participation rate is the greatest it's been since what, the mid-1970s, and
Correct.
These numbers are coming suspiciously close to an election. Your take on all the numbers and all the talk?
Well, the numbers, I mean, the numbers are encouraging, but they're also misleading. You have 7.5 million people, as an example, who work part-time but want full-time work. You have a whole other group of people, as you've articulated, who are not even looking for work at all anymore. But there's a much more troubling number. The thing that drives America is small business and entrepreneurship. That's what drives America. Newsmax was once a little small business, is now a conglomerate, as an example. Every big business was once a small one. But for the first time since 1978, when we start measuring small business births in this country, we now have more small business deaths than we have small business births. You know, in 2011, the last year that the census provided the numbers, you had 350,000 small business births and 400,000 small business deaths. Now, with 70% of all American employment coming from small businesses with 500 employees or less, and half of all employment coming from businesses with 100 employees or less, that's everybody. We're really looking for love in all the wrong places. We are digging in the wrong holes. If we don't solve the small business birth to death ratio, we're done as a leader of the free world, a nation that can help those in Africa with Ebola or help ourselves with jobs. And so I believe in America, and I believe that there's a rainbow after this storm, but we've got to be focused on what made America great in the first place and expand free enterprise to include more people, and that's the focus of the book, How the Poor Can Save Capitalism.
And John, let me ask you something. After the job numbers were released, the president went on the road to take credit for the good news. Let's listen to what he had to say for a moment.
And we're on pace for the strongest job growth since the 1990s. Strongest job growth since the 1990s. Over the past 55 months, our businesses have now created 10.3 million new jobs. Now that happens to be the longest uninterrupted stretch of job growth in the private sector in American history.
So, John, the president is taking credit for what he calls the strongest job growth in American history. But again, according to a recent Associated Press poll, 9 out of 10 people said the economy was the most important issue, and more people trust Republicans to handle the economy than the Democrats. Why is that?
Well, I don't know if I can get in people's heads, but my first of all, the president is doing his job by taking credit for those job numbers. He's doing the same thing that my friend George Bush did. He's doing the same thing that Ronald Reagan did. He's doing the same thing that Clinton did. When you have good news, you want to trumpet it.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean that that's the whole picture. And I think that one thing that's very important to me is that we don't get into this thing of the Republican Party or the Democratic Party per se, but really I'm focusing on the Get It Done Party. I just want to get it done. Poor and struggling families don't care what party you're from, as long as you can help them get a job, put their kids through school, help them become a homeowner, live the American dream. I think that to your point, though, if I had to describe the parties, I'd say that the Americans would prefer to have somebody with a Republican head and a Democratic heart. In other words, somebody with some compassion, yes, but somebody who had an analytical mindset with regard to things like job creation. And I think that Republicans have the perception of being job creators.
And John Hope Bryant, on that point, we're going to ask you to come back, talk more about your book. That's straight ahead. Stay with us.